Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Straight Up Tonight. My name is Wayne Caesar. Let me just give you guys a quick update. Tonight, our regular host, Mr. Mark Benchop, is going to be taking the night off tonight. So I will be your host for tonight. And with me is going to be Member of Parliament, Miss Annette Ferguson. She will be joining shortly. But I just wanted to start off tonight, by saying a pleasant good evening to you all. I hope you all would have had a pleasant day today and would have had a productive day today. Tonight we're going to, again, focus on Guyana. Oh, beautiful Guyana. Oh, our lovely native land. But, we can't say that about Guyana today with all the bloodshed and violence that we're seeing across our country. The vehicular, oh, those vehicular accidents, man. I would have seen a few of those. Terrible. Just complete lawlessness across our country, every day, every week, we're experiencing, you know, deaths across Guyana. You have the police that are, coming out and getting out of their vehicles and shooting indiscriminately at people, particularly in Pleasance with that incident that would have occurred just a few days ago where the young man was shot in his feet. Even if he was a suspect and they have him as a suspect tagged in the murder of that educator on the Pleasance line top that would have occurred a few days ago. But based on what individuals are saying across the village is that the police doesn't have enough evidence. But again, we have to wait and see because after all, we're dealing with the Guyana police force. But listen, that being said, it doesn't give the police the right to pull up in unmarked vehicles and just jump out and start shooting at people. The police have to recognize that the general public are their actual clients, and you don't get out of a vehicle and shoot at your client. If someone is suspected of doing something, you're already armed with a weapon. And to my knowledge, there were 4 officers present there. So if it's 4 of you approaching one man, it should not be a problem. I was taken back, when I heard the residents talk about, how the children in the area was traumatized. The females in the area was traumatized. I think the Guyana police force need to act with some, respect towards the people who, of course, are their clients. And, just be prudent with what you do, have an understanding. And I think this is lack of communication between the Guyana police force and the community. You need to know your community. If you know your community, there's no need for you to come out and start shooting, like if you're crazy. You're not shooting at animals here, you're shooting at human beings. So that's one thing that I really, wanted to touch on, before we get started. But it looks like if Guyana is heading back into the dark days, man. We are under a dark cloud right now. And I'm not sure I can quote word for word what Apostle Nigel London would have said, that it appears as if Guyana is cursed. And listen, the only way that we can reverse such a thing is for us to start acting differently as a people. And also, lots of prayer would be required. And you know what happens when you're in a dark place? When you're in a dark place, democracy dies in darkness. And that appears to be, where we're heading in Guyana. But we're going to keep that little candle lit here at 107.1 FM. As you can see tonight, Mark is off, but the show continues. While we wait on Miss Ferguson to come in, I don't know if the operator have her as yet. Okay, he does. A pleasant good evening to you, Member of Parliament, Miss Annette Ferguson. Thank you for joining me tonight.
A pleasant evening to you, Wayne, and a pleasant evening to your listeners and wonderful viewers here across the social media um, platform that has tuned in to 107.1 FM. I'm indeed honored, as usual, to be here where I can, discuss, educate, inform, and sensitize our wonderful viewers and listeners as to the issues and matters affecting us as Guyanese home here.
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you
Mhm,
very much.
mhm, mhm.
Ms. Ferguson, my first question I want to pose to you is what do you think about the uptick in violence across our country? And then Also, just answer this other question here too. The uptick also in vehicular accidents, because these accidents, man, is like, when you see these people get hit, there is no chance of
Indeed,
survival. You know,
indeed. You see, when before I respond to the two questions put, allow me to remind you of what Proverbs 29:2 reminds us. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But we know when the wicked rules, what the people do. They don't rejoice. So, what is happening home here in Guyana with regards to the murders, whether by way of domestic violence or otherwise. Truth be told, our society has, for me, degenerated into a lawless society. It seems as though that fellow human beings don't have respect and regards for other fellow human beings. Bodies are dropping as though they're animals or flies in this country. We're already a small population, and why should we be losing our people to such heinous crimes? And it is quite an unfortunate situation home here. And what is even sadder is that the authorities seem not to have a handle on what is really happening. I mean, we got all these laws. You got the domestic violence laws, you got all the other laws that involves crime. But it seems as though the issue here, or the major problem here, is reinforcement or enforcement. And I believe that constantly as a society, we need, as leaders, we need to keep educating our people on the laws, more so when it comes to domestic violence. And the records would show that since August 2nd, 2020 to now, it's actually every single day or every other day or every other week or every week or every month in this country, women are losing their lives. Just yesterday, you had a couple, perhaps it is a murder suicide. It's yet to be ruled out. But based on my reading and observations, it seems as though the young lady perhaps had her life taken, and then the young man, or it could have gone either way, right? But at least two young lives have been snuffed out because I get to know they got their own issues. So we need everybody on board, whether it is the government through the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. We need the churches on board. We need all the NGOs, all the faith-based, all the little community groups in the various regions. We need everyone on board to tackle this scourge called domestic violence. In no
Annette,
society.
Annette, stick a pin there quickly. Sorry to interrupt. Stick a pin there quickly. You just used the word government. Which government are we talking about? Because
Well,
it doesn't appear, when it comes to these issues, as if we have a government that is actually addressing these issues. It appears as if we have a business oriented government. It does, these issues just doesn't matter to the government. It's normal business as usual, and their business is usually corruption and racketeering. But you can continue.
well, I agree with you. I agree with you. It seems as though we have a regime, if for want of a better
Yes,
use of
yes, better
language,
word.
right? Yes, a regime that is more or less focused on making monies either the fast way or the shortcut way. So they don't have interest and intent to perhaps, have proper laws implemented to ensure that a lot of resources are plugged into organizations, whether at the human services level or the little NGOs around the place, so that they can help the regime to educate and to help reduce this thing called domestic violence. The other issue that we are faced with, based on the question you posed earlier, has to do with the frequent accidents we're having on our roadways. Look, you are absolutely correct. Practically every single day, we have road fatalities on our roadways. And this is as a result of reckless driving. It is as a result of, because speed comes from reckless driving. And if persons fail to obey the basic, this 5 C's of driving, recklessness again is the order of the day. Again, Wayne, we do have laws to address the speeding on our roads. I'm a frequent road. I'm a driver. I drive every single day on the road. And Guyana has now become like a truck city. Like a truck city. In every 10 vehicle that passes you, at least you have 5 trucks in the midst. So you got commingling of these huge big trucks carrying sand, stones, and other building materials. These guys operate as though they're the lone rangers on the road, so they don't care like a small man like me who driving a little, a little vehicle. They don't care. They don't care because I guess they have to make their monies when the day come. So putting other people's lives at risk, they just don't care the heck. And if you look at it, on many of the major roadways, you will have police officers out there manning, probably directing the traffic, and right in front of the law enforcement eyes, you would have these trucks zoom, zoom, zoom. Well, they can't stop these trucks. So what you find happening, Wayne, that many of the accidents that occurred over the last couple of hours, they were fatal accidents. And this in itself would put a strain on the health sector because let us say, for instance, you don't have the fatalities, right? But persons going with a broken limb or some fractured bone or something to the effect, you know, it's just a lot of, you gotta get the health personnel to deal with that particular patient. Then you got to find other means to address their medical needs. So that in itself would put a strain on our health system. And if you were to ask me, well, why is it that these people are driving fast? The roads don't have proper demarcations and so forth. Yes, millions are being invested. One, you got barriers in some of the on some of the streets. You got road markings, you got the signs, but people are just not just they're not adhering to the rules of the road. That is another thing. You got, if for instance, the stoplights. It I hate it, Wayne. When you stop at a stoplight, if you happen to be the first car in the queue and you stop at red, by the time the light jumps to green, if you hear all these cars as be honking the horn, the big trucks, what they want, soon as the light say green, you must speed off. All
Well,
of this is total lawlessness in this country. And the
well,
sad thing, Wayne, sorry, and the sad thing, Wayne, is that you have a gentleman who sits in the seat as the political head at the Ministry of Home Affairs. And it seems as though he of himself don't even know what is his role and function at that ministry. It's a sad state of affairs in this nation.
well, Annette, you got to remember this, that lawlessness starts at the top, right? So if you have a lawless government in place, that's going to trickle down to the Guyana police force, to the citizens in general, and that is what we're seeing. I'm talking about Mr. Robeson Ben. He's not qualified for such a portfolio, but I will leave that for another day. And
Yes.
another thing you would have talked about, Ernest, you would have talked about educate and the importance of education. Now, when we're talking about education, we have to be talking about education in relation to APNU. We cannot be talking about education when it comes to the PPPC because it was the PPPC, you understand me, who would have stopped free university back in 1992. Okay, so
1994.
they, 1990 when?
94. 1994.
1994? Okay, 1994. Thank you. I stand corrected. Um, yes, it was the PPPC who would have, stopped free university back in 1994. Why did they stop free university? Because they never wanted an educated people, under their reign, right? Barry Jagdeo wanted to be the most educated individual in Guyana, which he's absolutely not. He's not even close. Okay? Because if he was any good at what he would have called himself an economist, Guyana would have been in a much better position. I cannot see a man needing more than 23 years to fix a country. You know, that could merely be done in 7 years. What
Yes.
he would have taken 23 years to try to do, and he still did not accomplish it. But nevertheless, you know, I know that you guys have been going to Parliament on it. And I just want you in a nice nutshell because, 9:27 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States, and I know it's 9:27 also in Guyana. So we want to look at time because I have quite a few questions to you because when we here on Straight Up, you know what we do. We rock and
Yes.
roll when we're here. So I know that you guys have been going to Parliament. I just want you to give me like a quick summary in a nutshell of what you guys have been able to accomplish in Parliament as an APNU opposition and what you guys have been seeing from this government. Because if you ask me quickly to tell you, hey, what have I been seeing? I've been seeing that the government has been borrowing a whole lot of money, and I cannot see where these monies are going. So please, Ms. Ferguson, enlighten me and our listeners and viewers, please.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Well, this is the reason for me being here to educate and to enlighten,
Thank you.
yes. But look, you're absolutely correct. Since the 12th Parliament has commenced, I will give you current stats. They, for 2023, we met 12 times. For 2023 alone, from January to August 9th, or roughly August 10th, 12 times we met as a National Assembly. So out of the 67 sittings, because since the 12th Parliament started in September of 2020 to now, you had a total of 67 sittings in the 3 years. So out of the 67 sittings, we had 12 sittings for the year 2023. We are currently in recess for 2 months from August 9th to October 10th of 2023. But if I can backpedal a bit, since the year started, we have seen several bills came to the National Assembly for the year. It might have been probably in excess of 10 bills. I might be a bit conservative here where the numbers are concerned. Um, in February of 2023, we had the passing of the national budget, which was to the tune of $781.9 billion. You hear me? $781.9 billion. After the budget was passed in February of 2023, we had approximately 71 days, if my memory serves me accurate, when the next sitting was called on May the 10th, right? Yeah, May the 10th. When we got there on May the 10th, we had a series of bills that were laid. We also had loan agreements of which the government would have commit themselves to pass in the National Assembly. We also had the laying of another financial paper. So remember, as I said earlier, in February you passed 781.9 billion. You came in May, you laid a financial papers one and two. One was from the contingency fund, one was from the consolidated fund, which both papers amounted to 26 billion. So you add 781.9 to 26 billion dollars. Good. So in July, we went back after May, we went back in July, on July the 20th. And then after July the 20th, we went back on August, I think it was either the 3rd or the 4th. When they came on August 3rd, they came with another supplementary paper. So this is for additional money to the tune of 61 billion, 13 million and change. I will say about $62 billion.
Okay.
So when you add the 781.9, 26 billion and the 62 billion, let us, just round it to the nearest whole number. You got it, the government between January, not even January, I would say between February to August, a total of 869.9 billion Guyana dollars have been approved thus far by the National Assembly, right? So when they came last week, Wednesday, we debated the $61 billion. And when questions were put to the various ministers, okay, you had a provision, an initial sum of, let us say, $2. Can you say as at 31st of July 2023, how much percentage of that $2 was expended? I telling you, you're hearing 13%, 26%, 40%. So why are you coming back for more money? So I can only say, my brother Wayne, is that this government's interest or the regime's interest is all about getting their sticky fingers into the consolidated funds. Because I can tell you, the monies that we have passed thus far, many people will tell you, Wayne, I mean, you don't live here, but you got to be on the ground to understand what is happening. Many Guyanese are complaining. One, the cost of living is skyrocketing. And to date, as I said, I think the last program I was on with you, I did bring to the attention of your viewers and yourself that $5 billion, $5 billion was approved on February 3rd, 2023 to address cost of living measures. Well, when you know me, I every crack, I just put my hair through or put my eyes through. So I realized that, well, look, time is going, and it seems as though this 5 billion has not been rolled out. So several questions were put to Ashley Singh, Dr. Ashley Singh, to say to the House and to Guyanese what mechanisms are in place for the rollout of this $5 billion, how many persons have benefited from since February to August 2nd, 2023. Wayne, I got news for you and your listeners. Not 1 cent of that $5 billion, according to Dr. Ashley Singh, has been distributed. So you got monies tied up that the assembly approved that can bring the relief to help our people in this country. And to date, you haven't rolled that out.
Ms. Ferguson, could you just stick a pin there quickly? Because you would have said that you have all these monies because you was telling me about some budget that you had, and when you inquire about it, only 13% was expended. So let me just for our viewers, what she means by expended was allocated out for what it was actually, budgeted to target. then allocated out to the direct target. Um, that being said, Annette, when you say that these monies, they're literally just holding on to these monies and they're not being distributed for what they are meant for, what is actually happening with the money? Because these monies are already budgeted. Okay, that
Exactly,
means that the
exactly.
cash is available, right? Am I
Hmm.
correct here?
You're absolutely correct. You're
Okay,
absolutely correct.
so
Because, mhm, because
so
l- let me tell you this. Remember, they got a majority. So even if you want to cut, we little 31 and they with a 32 plus the one China person in the parliament there, make it the 33, or yeah, 33, and we 31. Let me tell you something. It is still not going to put us anywhere. We can only highlight and expose what the government is doing, because at the end of the day, Wayne, they have the majority and they will have their way. We will have our say, but they will have their way. So that is what is happening in the National Assembly. I can let me just cite an example so that your viewers can appreciate what I am saying here. Let us take, for instance, the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. Public infrastructure, I mean, from this 61 billion, the request that they came for is like 55% from this 61 billion going to the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, right? So let us use one of the item they came for, miscellaneous roads and bridges. Now, in February, in February, we approved in the National Assembly 31 billion and change. Now you coming back for a further 25 billion Ghana dollars. You hear me, man?
all
You
right,
hear
Miss
me
Ferguson,
asking?
Miss Ferguson. One thing I see wrong with how these budgets really work in Guyana. Okay, because if you say that, okay, we're doing 55% of the budget is going towards miscellaneous roads and bridges, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to have line items. We need to see which roads was done. You can't just use the word miscellaneous, not when you're dealing with a corrupt government, because miscellaneous could mean 10, and
Mm-hmm.
10 could be less than a fraction of that money needed to do those 10 roads or streets. What happens to the remainder of that money? This is unacceptable. Okay, we need to have reports with exact line items depicting and showing us exactly where these monies are going, the target areas, the streets, roads that would have been done in these areas. Okay.
Well, you see, Wayne, if I may, explain to you how our system works, right? So you got, as you refer to line item, yes, we do. The budget will have line items. So, for instance, you got roads, miscellaneous roads. You got miscellaneous roads. You got urban roads, right? You got miscellaneous roads and urban roads. So miscellaneous roads are basically roads in community that would require a little patching here, patching there, overlaying and all kind of thing. When you talk about urban roads now, urban roads are roads that are within the city or a township area. So the main roads in the city, we would refer to those roads as urban roads. So what you will find happening, you have a lump sum. So under miscellaneous roads, you have a lump sum of $31 billion. So when the questions were put to the minister, the Honorable Bishop Juan Edgel, in February, we asked him to disaggregate for us. Let us know where this 31 billion going, which roads, which miscellaneous roads will be taken care of, so that when we go out, we can say to our constituents in the various constituencies that, well, look, from $31 billion, you got 2 billion will be going towards, the community road in Buxton, so to speak, right? So when they came back for this $25 billion, we did ask how much from the 31 billion was actually spent. The minister did give a percentage, and he said, uh, um, the entire money has been committed. That means you might have let us say, they got works going on in the various communities. So you may pay out X amount, let us say 80% of the monies to contractors. So the remaining 20% will be based on when the works are finished. So for the $25 billion, yes, he did say exactly where the works will be done. And the simple thing we ask them to do is to lay over the information to us. Lay over the information to us so that when we go out there, programs like these, I can say to constituents and constituencies, well, in X area, you will be getting, let us say, X road will be maintained for X amount of dollars. So at least you get the citizens involved. They must be able to be the watchdog to ensure, yes, I hear from $25 billion, Dennis Street, part of Dennis Street is earmarked to be maintained. So the people will be watching out. Their local representatives too will be able to monitor these projects. But when you holding and you hogging the information, I can only assume, like my other colleagues, we can only assume that the government got something to hide. The government got something to hide. So, for instance, the Ministry of Housing and Water, the Ministry of Housing and Water, they got $50 billion. I want you to hear the figure. $50 billion to do
Annette, you could stick
roads.
up in there. You said $50 billion towards water. So why is the water coming out brown still?
No, no,
Why
not
are we still
no,
getting brown water?
no. Allow me to qualify what the sum went to.
Okay, all right,
The sum $50 billion, though you have Ministry of Housing and Water. Well,
right.
the 50 billion went to the housing component, right? To deal with
Mhm.
roads, to deal with putting in electricity, to deal with drains and stuff like that. And water will have its own lump sum, right? So for the ministry, for the housing component, 50 billion was approved in February of 2015, of 2023. They came back 6 months after in August, on August 9th. We approved $500 million.
So hold
And
on,
what was the.
Miss Ferguson, stick up in there. I have a question for you. When you guys are going to do these budgets, is there ever a feasibility study done on the infrastructural works that needs to be done? Because I am not understand. Because listen, all right, let's say I had a budget for $10 million, Miss Ferguson,
Mhm,
and all
mhm.
right, I went over budget. I shouldn't be coming back to you for more than $5 million if I would have done a proper study,
And
right?
not only a proper study, proper budget planning.
Correct.
Proper budget planning. You understand me? Because if I approve $50 billion in February, the parliament, the opposition in court, we asked you questions, you provided the answers. You understand me? You're coming back now for 500 million more. So when we ask the question, what are you doing with this 500 million? You understand me? Even for some roads, for bridges, we got a Wisma Bridge also. They came back for a couple billions, well, for the Wisma Bridge. And we asked for the Wisma Bridge. Where is the feasibility study? Where is the design? These are things that's supposed to come to the National Assembly. But when these people do not believe in transparency, they do not believe in accountability, and they do not believe in consultation. So they don't care. We could talk till Jesus comes. You understand me? The People's Progressive will Party will not shift because their modus operandi is to ensure that information is concealed from the members of parliament, so we wouldn't be able to keep abreast. But any good member of parliament would ensure he or she follow the ministry very closely. And I can tell you, this is one MP that is be doing like uh, policing work. This is one MP because I just ask the questions, right? I do ask the questions because at the end of the day, this is taxpayers' money. And I just got to remind them in the house, this is not the PPPC money. It ain't coming out from Barrett account or the People's Progressive Party bank account there in Freedom House. This is taxpayers' money. And when we come to this National Assembly, we must be able to know how taxpayers' monies are being expended. But you see what is happening? If you're doing a road, because you know there's really corruption there in infrastructure. So if you
Correct.
building, if you constructing a road 2 inches thick, you understand me? 2 inches thick. Who knows? You might get 1.5 inch. So where the other half inch going? Where is the other half inch going? You understand me? So they
And well,
don't
Annette,
want us to police these things. That's why they're hiding certain information from us.
well, how could you guys get any roads that are good across Guyana when you have people like critics who has now become a contractor building roads? You know, where has his expertise come from in this field? You know, you gotta ask yourself a lot of questions when it comes to this government and the way they are doing things. But that being said, I think we still have to put ourselves in position. And I know the disadvantages that you guys have in Parliament. Yes. And it comes from many different directions, not just with the PPPC, Annette, but
Mhm.
also with that Speaker of the House that you guys have there right now.
Yes.
It is concerning to watch the behavior of Mr. Mansour Nadir.
Mhm.
It is horrible and despicable in nature. Can you
You're
please, can you please enlighten us as to what you've been able to experience with this gentleman?
well, Wayne, even before I answer that question, if you would permit me a minute or
Sure.
two to respond to, um, these new contractors, these new contractors that are doing infrastructural works. Look, when we will continue to get substandard work, we will continue to see taxpayers' money going to waste because many of these people who are now into construction, I serve at public infrastructure for 3 years. I served sat as the junior minister there, and I can tell you some of the names that I'm seeing around the place now. I have never seen those names on the listing of the at the ministry there. And I can even say so for the housing. I was at housing for a short period of time. And I can tell you many of the names that I'm seeing or companies that I'm seeing around the place, I have never come across those names while sitting as a minister of the government. These people, the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act is clear. The procurement laws are clear when it comes to providing goods and services by providers or contractors. You must meet certain criteria. You can't tell me that I wake up tomorrow morning, form a construction company, and by next week I get in billions in contract. Where is my experience? Where is the experience? That is why if you drive around this nation right now, you will see a lot of projects that have started. They're actually incomplete, or in some cases, you have cessation of work. There's nobody on the work site to continue the project. But you know what? Millions, in some cases, billions have been pending and we're not getting value for money. The question that you asked me pertains to what again? Um,
Oh, the Speaker
where?
of the House, Mr. Mansour
Yes,
Nazir.
thank
Yes,
you very
I'm
much.
not going to
Yes.
miss that one.
Well, indeed, Mr. Mansour Nadir has been unfair. I've been loud about it in the public, on my programs, even on my Facebook page. He has been an unfair Speaker of the National Assembly. And why am I saying this? Many things. Your questions, you're amending your questions. If you submit 5 questions, for each question now, each question you have to put a subject head. You understand me? When you put that subject head, you know what is happening? Is that all 5 questions will not come on one order paper. He gonna spread it out. That is what this man is doing. Motion. Just last week, my colleague, the Honorable Ganesh Mahipal, tabled a motion to be addressed on the matters of public importance regarding the Maria Inferno, right? Because Mr. Ali, he has um, allow the persons who will now serve as commissioners to take their oaths. They took their oaths last week. So Ganesh asked, tabled a motion, and you know what the speaker said? The speaker said that that is not urgent. It is not urgent, so that motion was disallowed. On July the 20th, I tabled a question on the order paper, question without notice. You know what he did? And those questions had to deal with the residents at Hillfoot who were actually dislocated, had their homes bulldozed, and every other thing. You know what he said? That the questions are not urgent. Well, me, I challenge him on the floor. I say, if you want to disqualify um, these questions, I mean, for me, it is urgent, right? Because early in the week, you had persons who were actually protesting outside of the Ministry of Housing. Why can't we, as members of Parliament, find solutions, discuss these issues, find solutions so that we can have our people's issues addressed in an amicable way? That he also disallowed. I think
Miss
there were
Ferguson,
several.
Miss Ferguson, can you stick a pin right there? I just want to interject very, very quickly here. Okay. No, Mr. Mansour Nazir said that your question was not important, right? In
Mm-hmm,
relation to Hillfoot, right?
mm-hmm,
But we have to understand that Mr. Mansour Nadir is president, Irfan Ali, because Irfan Ali is not my president, right?
mm-hmm,
It's Mansour Nadir's president. Would have said that he have the interests of women and children.
mm-hmm,
Okay? So with
mm-hmm.
what Mansour would have said there, come on, we have a mix up here. We are contradicting ourselves here between the two of them. Because then that question should have been heard and that should have been addressed. Seeing that the
Exactly.
president, you understand me, have the
Mhm.
interests of mothers and children. But he didn't.
Exactly.
That's to show the disconnect with this PPPC installed government. These guys are not government. They are not ministers. They are a set of gangsters. Over to you, Annette. Go ahead, continue.
Yes. So we had that those questions being disallowed. I think just last week, two of my colleagues, Amanda Walton this year, and I think I'm trying to remember if it is the leader of the opposition, Mr. Aubrey Norton, who would have submitted question. No, it was Tabitha Sarabu who would have submitted questions without notice to be, deliberated or asked on the floor of the National Assembly. That too, here disallowed. You would have seen, you read, you heard about female members of parliament on the government side, on the opposition side, who were actually abused by sitting members of parliament who occupies a seat as ministers in this government. Mansour Nadir always put a deaf ears when it comes to the People's Progressive Party civic members. Mansour Nadir, you would recall the whole May story. The whole May story. And Mansour got a face to say to members of the National Assembly, and also because he's on record that, oh, the mace was broken and I steal mace. And I steal mace? I never steal mace. The mace is right in the National Assembly. What he did, they treated us unfairly, myself and 7 colleagues of mine. You understand? We were not given an opportunity to defend ourselves. You know what? We were suspended. Some had 4 months, some had 6 months of suspension without pay. You understand? And he never gave us a hearing. A hearing. So for me, I believe that this is the worst speaker since post independence Guyana. He has been the worst speaker. He allows the government side to vilify women, calling people, telling people they want a dildo, calling people, what's the other word? Um, Trying to remember the other word because it's evading me because it's not important. But the vilest of things that are being said, especially by Kwame McCoy, who's the chief heckler in that house. Who is the chief heckler in that house? Well, the other chief heckler has now bowed out by way of resignation because we know what he was involved in as it was
We know
allegedly
what he is,
reported,
not what he was.
right?
We know what he is, and it's not what he was.
You see, you
We
in
know what
America,
he is.
you
All
in
right,
America,
okay, so
I
good. All
Canada,
right,
right?
I'm gonna say it. We know what he is.
Good,
We're not gonna talk about it now, but we know what he is.
good, right? So, Mr. Nansur Nadir has been unfair to the opposition members. Just last week, I had to let him know that we're not cheering in here. We're adults. We are adults. So you're giving one side an opportunity to express themselves. That's the government side. But when it comes to us, you understand me? You're trying to shut us down. And you know, he also has a bad habit. Every time a question put, more so by or a comment made by an opposition MP, why he always got to assume and try to qualify what we're trying to say. That's not his authority. His authority is to ensure that there is order in the National Assembly. So if I want to ask a question that the dog ran over the road, don't try come telling me the black dog ran over the road. It is for the minister who has to answer the question to say to me what color dog ran over the road and not Mr. Mansour Nadir. So when the opposition members make a statement before putting a question, you know what he does? You know what he does? He would give the minister an opportunity to come back to defend him or herself. So, as I said before, this is a this is the worst. I've been in Parliament from since 2012. In the 10th and 11th Parliament, I served. I served under the speakership of Mr. Raphael Trotman. Oh my God. The disrespect I'm seeing in this parliament, I have never seen such behavior under Raphael Trotman. You also had Dr. Barton Scotland, who served in the 11th parliament as the speaker. And I can tell you, not a no man. Those men were classy men.
Annette, that's like mixing egg and oranges there, man. When you talk about Dr. Bartland, Scotland, and the Honorable Raphael Trotman, and then you're gonna say Mansour there. Come on now. There's a massive difference there. From
Well,
so
why?
many different
Well,
perspectives. There's a
well, why?
massive,
Well,
huge hole
well,
there.
while I agree with you that there is a massive difference there, at the end of the day, I believe that Mr. Mansour Nadir knows his role, he knows his responsibility, and he's very, very versed with the standing order of the National Assembly and the rules and the procedures. So I guess, he has to please his political masters. So by pleasing them, it is us, the members of parliament on the opposition benches, who will forever got to feel the wrath of, you know, a biased speaker in the person of Mr. Mansour Nadir. But while I respect his position as the chair, as a speaker, I will not allow Mr. Mansour Nadir nor any one of his colleagues to be disrespectful to me. I have a mouth, I got a tongue, and I will use it accordingly.
Well said, Miss Ferguson. Well said. Emphatical. Well said. All right. Now, when it comes to questions without notice, because I've heard about these questions without notice, and
Mhm.
whenever they are tabled, they always seem to get rejected. And I always say to myself, why continue to table these? But Annette, I would like you to help me in recalling at any time was a question without notice ever accepted and you guys would have addressed it in Parliament? Because I can't recall the last time that one would have been accepted. Maybe you can help me with that.
Well, questions without notice is actually, you know, you didn't give
Right.
the
Prior.
um, prior notice,
Yes.
right? So let us say, for instance, with the massive accidents or murders we have in our country, the person who is shadowing the whether the home affairs or the social services ministry, he or she can prepare questions without notice. But who will you inform? Questions without notice, you will have to have them submitted. Let us say if the parliament meets at 2 tomorrow
Mhm.
afternoon, you got to ensure that these questions reaches the speaker and the clerk before 5 p.m. this afternoon. So he, in his own wisdom, will determine whether the questions to the Honorable Minister Ben or Dr. Vindi Prasad on, the state of affairs with regards to crime and domestic violence, whether, he would allow it. So basically, questions without notice is that, you know, the questions are not given prior notice to the ministers. But the speaker, when he gets it, he will alert the responsible ministers that, well, look, you got questions coming on XYZ. Perhaps he might even share it with them because they will have to prepare their responses for the National Assembly. But I'm trying to recall in this 12th Parliament whether this has been done. I cannot recall whether he would have allowed questions without notice. I would have given you cited examples of which he disallowed questions and also motions. I remember under the leadership of Joseph Harmon, questions were asked, they were denied without notice. Motions all were put to the National Assembly to be addressed on the matters of urge of public importance and so forth. These two were disallowed. So for me, I will say out of 10, perhaps 0 out of 10.
Okay. Good. Excellent. And Mr. Manzoor Nadir, you're a failure to the Guyanese people because listen, we have two parties here, two known, not even parties. We have the PPPC and we have what I would deem a strong opposition. And I think that our opposition should have always have a seat at the table and be allowed, to put their questions out there and their questions should be answered. Their questions should be allowed to be tabled even if they're last minute. And they should be, it's just about being professional on it.
Yes.
Everything doesn't have to be done exactly by the book, because the PPPC definitely don't do everything by the book. They don't respect our constitution. There's so much that this installed government don't respect, right?
Absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay, because if they respected our constitution, there would have been no need. There would have been no need for someone like Afanali to say, "Hey, we have to go out and we have to bring in external labor because our people are not skilled." No, it's in the constitution.
You
Government
know,
have a right to make sure that our people are educated and up to par. Provide those opportunities, whether it's via technical institute or via university. These opportunities should be available to people so that they can go there and educate themselves. Go ahead, Annette. It
yeah.
seems like
You know,
you
yes. I want to share recent recent activities in the National Assembly. In on the 3rd of August, several bills were laid in the National Assembly. You had the the digital identity bill was laid. You also had the petroleum activities bill was laid. And I'm going to speak specifically to the petroleum activity bill. You know that the petroleum activity bill is that we were not given prior notice. We weren't allowed by way of a consultation approach to give our views on this particular bill. And we had our own concerns regarding this bill, and more so the control that a minister, the minister, whomever he or she would be, right, would have regarding what the law says regarding the petroleum activities. Several amendments, several amendments were tabled by my colleague, the Honorable um, David Patterson, who shadows that sector, oil and gas. And not one amendment was adopted by the People's Progressive Party Civic. Remember, we were heading into a recess. They laid this bill on the 3rd. We returned the week after, on the 9th, 6 days after we returned to the National Assembly to pass that legislation, that bill, along with the two other bills, the data protection bill and also the digital identity bill. We asked, we even asked for the bill to, because we welcome the bill, the petroleum activities bill, we welcome it, but we believe that the bill needed some tidying up. Tidy who? Where the PPP is concerned? Oh no! They said that the bill got to pass, and they ensured that that bill was passed without any amendments. Mr. Anil Nandalal, who always professed to be the brightest, like a light bulb, for an attorney general. He had all sort of insulting words, and you could see they listen to me. You just know when they know we right. You just know when they know that, well, look, were we proposing making a whole lot of sense? Were we recommending making a Anil Nandalal just go mad. His whole facial expression changes. We just gotta say something, by and sure you take your medication. Because this man just go off like if he's a madman, and trying to insult the National Assembly. For instance, too, you had the real estate bill, of which I was one of the speakers. Um, I contributed to the bill on the 4th of the third, or either the 3rd of August or the 4th of August. And we asked for this bill to go to a special select committee. Because you know what? We realize I also put forward amendments. Perhaps I may not have put it, because I'm no legal mind, I'm no drafter, but at least I made amend proposal for amendments to be made to that bill. Oh my God. Again, Anil Nandalal think he could have insulted me. I had to stand in the National Assembly and say to him, don't try insulting my integrity. Don't try insulting me, who you think you be. All that we're asking for is for this bill to go to a special select committee. You can't bring this bill 1 week before and 1 week after or days after. We're here to just, rushly pass these bills. It's unfair to us, more so our constituents, because I'm sure if I'm to do a survey in one constituency, I sure they didn't even know, they didn't even understand which bill passed. They must didn't even know which bill passed. You understand me? So no, we have to educate our people because many of the laws that were passed over the past few weeks, you understand me? Our people are oblivious to it. So it is our responsibility as members of parliament to educate and to sensitize our people because once you fall in the law and the law's got to be applied, it would be strange to our people. But this government don't care. Article 13 of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana speaks wholly and solely to the consultation. Guyanese must be able to be part of the decision making. So at the national level, we're not getting that. At the regional level, we are not getting that. Even at the local level, we're not getting that because all that the People's Progressive Party Civic know is is autocratic rulership. Where would that put us? It is not putting us anywhere. And when, as I refer to the Petroleum Commission activities bill that was passed last Thursday morning. Let me tell you something. We know it's one man controlling the finance of this country. He controlling the oil sector in this country, and perhaps all the other sectors this man got control over. So he's enjoying his third term through Mr. Afan Ali, who was never deserving to be president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So I'll pause here.
Well, that one man who is serving that third term, you know, that is controlling all the sectors of Guyana, when our people continues to live in poverty, um, that man either well, there's a few things about that man. Number one, he's heartless, and number two, I would consider that person to be a big dunce. To be honest with you,
Mhm,
a
mhm,
huge dunce. But
mhm,
that's another show. But Miss Ferguson, I must say this: I don't think that you guys have to be at a disadvantage in the National Assembly. I know you said it's 33 to 31,
mhm,
but I think going forward, and you said it and you stated it very well, we need to edify our people. To the
mhm,
extent that you guys would go on the ground and edify these people, I would ask you at the same time to encourage them to come to Parliament with you. All of them don't have to enter the building, they can wait outside. And they're going to have something to say with their protests. You understand me? As to how decisions are made in Guyana. We have to stop posturing in this way where we just go to Parliament and we just allow the PPP to dictate terms with their 33 to 31 majority. We've got to stop this. This has got to stop. People of Guyana, I call on you to step forward and support the opposition here. This government is totally ripping our country off. It is ripping the fabric of our country apart,
mhm.
and it needs to be stopped. Okay? And that
Yep.
we need to get on the ground. We need to get the people out. The people need to rally around you guys as you go to Parliament and go to Parliament with you guys. Go out there, protest.
Mhm,
Protest, protest, protest. We're just not seeing enough protests. You want democracy, you gotta fight for it. You gotta protest for it. Okay, or else you ain't gonna get it. Look how you would have described um the attorney general. By the way, sir, you're another dunce. Okay, you're another dunce, and I don't have to say it. And if you stay professional in the corner, I'll deal with it. You're another dunce. You don't win any cases. You do not win any cases, Anel Nandalal. Tell me when last you would have won a case. But you could go in parliament and you could scream out and you could shout. Don't shout on our females in parliament. Okay? Do not
Yes.
shout at them. I am telling you that. Don't shout at them. Yeah, listen, certain things you just gotta address directly. You just can't allow it to continue. We have got to change our posture in Guyana. Guyana
Yeah.
belongs to all Guyanese. We're not eliminating anybody or saying that we don't want anybody to be a part of Guyana and its future and where it goes. But the PPP is not the right government for Guyana, and they don't have the future of Guyana at heart and the people of Guyana at heart. Look
No,
at they want
no, they
Linden.
don't.
They
They
want
don't.
Linden, but they don't want the people of Linden.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
They just
Uh,
want. They just
you
want, and there's no dealing with the people.
It
Listen.
yes, it is sad. It is sad, Wayne, what is happening in this country. You would recall. Look, I mean, the coalition did what they had to do in less than um, 5 years. The coalition did what they had to do. But when this government came in, they promised Guyanese that they will deliver to them. When we are yet to see them deliver to make Guyanese enjoy a good life in this oil economy. It's all about friends. It's all about favorites. It's all about families and also the foreigners. Because, and you would recall just last year, and I had to remind them in the National Assembly what Maya Motley said the when she made her address at the oil and gas conference here in Georgetown in February of 2022. She said that citizens must not be treated as tenants in their country. Well, 1 year after, Maya, girl, you should really come to see what is happening because Guyanese are indeed being treated as tenants in their country. The
But
foreigners are we are not against foreigners coming because with foreigners or investors, it would create avenue for employment. But treat your Guyanese with respect. Treat your Guyanese with dignity. Just like how you want to live the big life. You don't believe the man in Tiger Bay or the man in Enmore, the man in Lusitania, the man in Buxton shouldn't enjoy a good life or shouldn't live a comfortable life. Why you alone should be benefiting from this oil resources. It pains my heart. I am not against people working or seeking honest job. But it pains my heart every day you drive down the certain highways in this city. You see, oh, black young men and women, because I saw a woman today with a reflective vest on and spading up sand. That's the only work for us? No, we are a qualified bunch of people.
Miss Ferguson,
We
before you continue, I'd just like you to stick a pin very, very quickly there because I noticed you would have said something and I would like to really beg and ask you to differ on it. When it comes to Miss Maya Motley, she speaks out of both sides of her mouth because she would have been backing Mr. Barajagdi on the PPPC at the time of the 2020 elections. And then she have the audacity to come to Guyana and talk about Guyanese should not be treated like tenants in their own country. Did she not knew what to expect at the time of the 2020 elections? Well, no, she would have seen with her own two eyes, and she would have lived to see, what the PPPC would have done with the people of Guyana. And I'm sure all the ABC countries too. I hope that their eyes are open and they're seeing what's happening in Guyana. Because the PPPC is essentially trying to make Guyana one party state, which is essentially a dictatorship, right? And
Yeah,
listen,
it.
we are not going to sit down. We are not going to sit down and allow the PPPC to have their way in Guyana.
Mhm,
Okay? We
mhm,
need to get on a roll here and give this installed regime, because this regime is installed. There's no way, again, I say it, Order 20 could never sit a government. This government is not legal, cannot
mhm,
sit a government with Order 60. The government
mhm,
is not legal. Again, all the external financiers, you coming in to invest in Guyana, please be careful. We cannot promise you return on your investment, because you're
mhm,
investing and you're dealing with a government that is not legal.
mhm.
Annette, is there anything you want to say in your closing? But I wanted to ask you one question. What
Yes.
remind us, please? Remind us of some of the promises that the PPPC have made, you know, um, in their 2020 election bid. Remind us, please.
Well,
So,
when they promise Guyanese a plan to reduce crime, we're yet to see that, and
uh,
crime is escalating. Crime is out of control in this country. They promised 50,000 jobs, and just yesterday, I think somewhere in the news, they're reporting that they're now looking for 100,000 persons or laborers to probably import. They're short of 100,000 laborers. Now you promised 50,000 jobs. So why can't you locate in the communities? You got young people who are unemployed, who roam in the streets every day. You can utilize those persons, train them, give them that opportunity. So 50,000 jobs, we're yet to see. They promise free university education. We're yet to see that rolled out. What else they promised us? They promised us 50, they promised public servants 50% increase in salaries, Wayne. But last week, you came to the National Assembly asking for an additional 1.5 billion Guyana dollars to give the guy Suku. To give the guy Suku in February of 2023. Guy Suku got an initial voted provision of $2 billion. So between February and August of 2023, Guy Suku has now raked 3.5 billion from the treasury. But you know what? Nothing for public servants, nothing for the teachers, nothing for the nurses, nothing for the policemen. Why, Wayne? Why, Wayne? Despite our plea, our advocacy, our call to this regime to set the salaries, give the people a reasonable and decent salary so that they can enjoy a good life. The public servants, after 3 years, Wayne, only got 7% increase in salary. Within 3 years, only 7%. Well, they have we have the report from the profits that they have made from the oil for 2023. Let us wait and see in another few months what they will give to public servants. This government don't really like the public servants, and it is the public servants who keep the wheels of government going. If you're to do an analysis, when post May 2015 for 10 years, you will see the figures that public servants get for increase. They ain't get no 10%, It's between 3 and 5%. Well, last year, they gave them 7%. I hope this year, for 2023, they must give public servants the 50% that is due to them. But these are some of the promises they've made, Wayne, and they have failed to deliver on these promises. And Guyanese got to hold them accountable. We have to hold them accountable. The time has come for us to move away from because I'm Indian, I vote in race. Because I'm black, I vote in race. No! The time has come for us to vote for issues. What
Voting
affects
issues.
vote for issues? What can you do as a government to change my lifestyle? You understand me? What can you do as a government to provide proper health care in this country, to provide equitable and equality in education, to provide proper housing accommodation for its citizens? So, Wayne, in closing, this People's Progressive Party Civic has failed, and they will continue to fail Guyanese in another 2 years. So the time will come where Guyanese must move a referendum against this government, against this regime, and said they had enough. Enough. They cannot govern. They lack vision. They're a pack of incompetent people, and all they know well is to rape our treasury and continue to suffer the poor man in this country. With those few words being said, I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share with you, your viewers and listeners. I do look forward to reappearing in the future so
Yes.
that we can continue this conversation. May God continue to bless you. May God continue to bless Brother Mark Benchcop. May God continue to bless your families. And may God continue to bless our beautiful nation, Guyana. Guyana will rise.
Yes, yes, yes. Well said. Well said, Miss Ferguson. There's a few things that I was able to pick out from what you were saying that was concerning to me. When you said that the government need 100,000 people, I am not thinking employment. I'm thinking 100,000 voters. But that's something that we're gonna discuss,
Yes.
on a whole different show there. We're gonna speak
Mhm.
to that. But to our listeners and viewers tonight, I hope that you guys were edified by this conversation. And we're gonna have more of these. I know thus far in my solo job as host here, I've had Miss Ferguson twice, but I could promise you guys I'm going to have other guests in the future. And I just want to thank all you guys for tuning in tonight. Mark, thank you for affording us, the opportunity to use this platform. The light is always lit here at 107.1 FM. We never miss a beat here. We're here every night. We are always on the ground here with the people. And of course, I want to say thanks to all our freedom fighters and a pleasant, pleasant good evening to you all. Again, Miss Ferguson, thank you so much for coming on tonight. On short notice, of course, from me as usual. You always get short notices from me. But thank you again for coming
Yes.
on.
Yes.
And good night. Good night
You're
to
most
you.
welcome. God, you
All
too.
right.
Good. Bye bye.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.